Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to episode 52 of the Gaming Rules podcast, where I talk about the games that I've been playing and various other things that I've been up to. This week I'm joined by Eric Buscemi from Punchboard Media, who's going to be talking about some of the games that he's been playing recently and about Punchboard Media itself. As always, thanks to the sponsors of the show, GamesLaw, the UK's largest specialist games retailer, at gameslaw.com. And now, on with the show. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Hello, thank you for having me.
How's things with you?
I can't complain. It's a nice Sunday morning here.
Whereabouts are you?
New York.
And it's a nice Sunday morning?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful one.
Okay. Could you send some of that weather here?
Look, if I try and send anything, you may accidentally get hurricanes, so let's not...
That is true, yeah. I mean, we complain about the weather in England all the time. It's one of our national characteristics of complaining about the weather. And it's generally always a bit miserable, but to be fair, we don't have any of those extreme weathers. You know, when it gets cold, it gets a bit cold and it snows. When it's cold over there, you get 6 feet of snow and things like that.
That is not a lie.
Yes. So anyway, enough talking about the weather. My dad would be proud of me. So let's talk about Punchboard Media first. A few of my listeners might be wondering what Punchboard Media is, because my last few podcasts have kind of mentioned that I'm a member of Punchboard Media. And it's also appearing on the end credits of my latest videos. So what is Punchboard Media? Well, rather than me answer it, Eric, you're the best person to explain it.
Fair enough. So let's see. It originally started with a conversation I was having with Brandon Kempf of the What Did You Play This Week podcast. And we were just discussing how there were existing media entities and networks that were more than one thing. And we had so many different people that were already contributing to the What Did You Play This Week podcast, yourself included occasionally. Yep. And we said, hey, why don't we just poll everyone and see if that's something they'd be interested in. And also, the What Did You Play This Week podcast was already part of the Pathological Nerdcasters network, although that hadn't really been doing anything. So there were already a few other entities attached with it in a way. And then we just brought it up to some people. We brought it up to Travis and Donnie in low player count, Craig over at Botch Games, Bill at the Cubist, yourself, and not only did everyone have interest in it, a number of people had said, hey, this is something I'd already thought about doing. And that gave me a really good feeling about it. Like, I must be onto something. I must be on the right track here if other people are already thinking this is something worth doing. And then from there, we reached out to other people that we were friendly with. Brandon had already done the first year of the Fantasy Board Game League with Jake and Danielle over at Draft Mechanic, and they had the Mile High Game guys on the conversation thing. So it just kind of grew organically, and then we invited some other people that we just liked the content of, like Katie Adley at Katie's Game Corner, stuff like that, and kind of went from there. And we had a soft launch in May. And then we had our official launch party at the CGE room at Origins. Yep. Thank you for helping facilitate that.
Much fun was had that night.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah. So how many people are in Punchboard Media then?
Yeah, it's about 28 different entities. It's audio content, video content, written content, and some. We even just added a guy who does primarily photography. You'll know he just did the photos with the chipmunks and the That's a Question boxes. So
that weren't squirrels.
Yeah, well, yeah. He said he waited for a few hours, but you get what you get at some point.
Exactly. So it isn't just 28 different podcast people, as you say. It's people who do written blogs. It's people who do video content, audio content, and as you say, one guy who's just doing photographs.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun because if I'm doing something and I write stuff, I have my own little blog, the Cardboard Hoard. But if I'm doing something, there's also going to be a chance someone else is talking about whatever I'm talking about in a podcast or on a video. So it's great to have the different perspectives, and you can always bounce things off people, because at that point there's so many people, because it's not even just 28 people, because a lot of these have 2, 3, 4 hosts involved.
True.
Especially with the podcast and the video stuff. So there's so many people you can bounce stuff off of. And it's a pretty loose collective. There's no one really in charge of it, but I run the website and all the tweets, unless otherwise noted, are from me. But but yeah, no, it's nothing. It's nothing serious. It's nothing anyone's doing as a job. It's just kind of a way for us all to collaborate and boost our signal, and also it's a way for us to try and help to create a more inclusive gaming community with giving people with different perspectives, female content creators, LGBTQ content creators, international folks, all a voice, and try and boost their signal. And in some small ways, we're trying to start to give back to the community. We just did a giveaway where I mailed 3 boxes full of games to different charities that people had suggested, like a Ronald McDonald House and a small convention that was benefiting a children's shelter, and also a special needs high school class. So try and do little things and just be positive, a positive force in the board game community.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people who are part of the network, I'd sort of become friends with over the last couple of years anyway. So it's nice that I now feel slightly more associated with those people who I had conversations with. And we've got our own Slack channel where we discuss random stuff. We don't talk about the weather enough. Really need to be doing that. But, we discuss production issues that we all have. For example, if one of us was to buy the wrong thing off eBay and feel like a complete idiot, hypothetically speaking, then
hypothetically speaking, earlier today,
then it's a place where we can talk about things like that and get good feedback. So that's good. Now, one of the things that you've been doing in particular, which I wanted to talk about, is the InFocus, the Women of Board Gaming interviews. So talk a bit more about them.
Yes. So when we started, I was thinking about like what new original content can I put out there that's going to really speak to the mission statement of Punchboard Media. And I thought about, just interviewing women that are in the hobby, not gamers, but professional women that are designers and artists and
publishers.
Yeah. So I just started, messaging some of them that I had some connection with, and I hit up some through other people that I knew they had connections with them, and I've gotten almost entirely a hugely positive response, and I have so many women interested in doing it, and we've been running it since the beginning, once a week. And it's been great. Our last one was with Carla Kopp of Weird Giraffe Games, who has her game Stellar Leap up on Kickstarter right now, and then we have some more coming. The next one should be Nicole Klein, who designed Laser Riders and Resistor, and there's another a Kickstarter game I got called House Rivalry, and I just got a copy of it, and it's from a company called Learn LARP, and they actually come from the background of LARPing. They have this magical universe. It seems a very Harry Potter inspired, but they have decided to make a magical school board game, so I'm interviewing the person about that. I think that's going to be a really fun interview because of the storytelling of LARPing, and I want to see how much of that was what they were able to bring into the board game industry, because I think that'll be a totally different angle from your typical Euro designers and stuff. Yeah, cool. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is my reasons for joining Punchboard Media, because it sounds like it's an obvious thing. As I mentioned, that I'd become friends with a number of people who are in the network, and thanks to my trips that I get to make to America, I'd actually met some of the people, and I met you for the first time at Origins. But for me, I've actually, and I don't want to go into too many details here, but a chair has been pulled out for me a couple of times before, and I've always politely declined them for various reasons, but this one I definitely said yes to. So the two main reasons are, as I say, I knew a lot of the people who were in it anyway, and I was fans of the content that was already being created by those people. But the other thing is, this is not a network where you are going online and doing crowdfunding to raise money. And I wasn't keen, I'm not keen on the idea of me being part of another network, and that network then raises however much money they can on crowdfunding, and I'm one of the content creators, and I don't see any of that money. Now, this is where you turn around and say, oh, actually, Paul, we've raised
$50,000. Did you not get your part of it? But
No.
there's no plans for Punchboard Media to go anywhere down that route at all. It is just a collection of people who were doing what they were doing already.
Yeah, when we started, there were two things right at the forefront that we decided. One of them was that the network would not have a flagship show in any form. So there's no one content creator that's the main content creator in any way, and then the other thing is that we weren't going to monetize at all. There's no advertising on the site. There's no promotion directly from the network for anything, and there is no crowdfunding via Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Patreon, any of that. Now, some of the content creators do have their own thing, and that's cool.
Yep,
some of them
that's
are
fine.
Some of them are sponsored. As long as they're transparent about their sponsorship, we're totally cool with that. And if they're running crowdfunding, like, awesome for them. I'm glad to see that they have fans that want to support them. And in most cases, these things are just going to cover their hosting costs for their websites and stuff like that. Or some of them sell merchandise. And then, it's awesome. They get to see people out there at conventions wearing their T-shirts and make a few bucks. But no one is making a career out of this. Well, I mean, you're making a career out of board game.
Well, yeah, but
that's
not from the not from the podcasts. And they're a cost.
Yeah,
here I am on a Sunday afternoon, not doing the house jobs. So anyway, that's Punchboard Media. People can find Punchboard Media at punchboardmedia.com, which is all one word.
Yep, punchboardmedia.com, and it's also at Punchboard Media on Twitter and Instagram, and there's also a Facebook page. It's Facebook/Punchboard Media or whatever. I don't actually have Facebook, so don't quote me on that address. But if you use Facebook, you can find it just by searching for Punchboard Media. Yes. I promise.
Yes, it will be there. Right, so let's start moving on to some of the games that we've been playing.
Awesome. Let's talk about some games now.
You were talking about sponsorship and being paid for and things like that. It's not so much being paid for, but if I don't talk about Gloomhaven every episode, Isaac Childress gets very upset with me. So we played Gloomhaven. Now we've had I think it was a 3-week break between our Gloomhaven sessions because a couple of the players went away on holiday, which is very selfish of them.
How dare they?
I know, it's ridiculous. We got together and we had the most disastrous scenario we've had yet. Now, we've played it, I think we've played 24, 25 scenarios now. We've been playing it for like 9 months, and this one was the most disastrous. Now, quite often when we're playing a scenario, we get a third of the way in and we think, we're not going to do this. And then we do, right?
Okay.
Somehow we manage, because we don't just give up, but, we really, really try. And some of them have been so close, but we've managed to do it. So we never give up. This one, by round 3, we were saying, we're not going to do this one. And this time, we really mean it. We're not going to do this one. So 4 rounds in, two of us were unconscious. It was like, it just went completely and utterly wrong. Now, we plan to replay that scenario, and we will be more prepared for it the next time. And I actually spoke to the designer of the scenario, because this one was a guest design. It wasn't designed by Isaac himself. It was Matthew G. Summers. So I contacted him and I went, we just played your scenario.
Is it the Kobayashi Maru?
Are we getting something wrong, or is there a errata that I haven't seen anywhere, because it just felt impossible? And he came back to me and he said, well, there has been a poll of the most difficult scenarios, and he said this one was very high up the list, if not at the very top of the list. So we, that told us that it was a very, very difficult scenario. Now, our choice of characters and our build, effectively, that we took for the characters in that scenario, looking back, was probably the wrong one. But without actually playing through it first, unless you're really, really good players and you can look at what you're going to need and then prepare for it, we don't do that. We kind of just go into it. So yeah, now we're going to go in with the same characters, but we're going to have a completely different loadout, and we're going to go into it in a different way. Well, actually, I might change my character, because my character, which I can't really explain much about because it's not one of the basic ones, it's one that gets unlocked. I don't feel any loadout for my character is going to suit this scenario whatsoever.
So will you have to retire that character? Is that how that works?
You don't retire. So you retire the character when you have achieved your personal quest. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave him in the city, and I'm going to just create a new character, just a one-off character for that scenario, to do that scenario, and then I'll go back to my original character.
So you're going to leave your main character at the pub.
Leave my main character at the
and
pub.
Grab a specialist.
Grab somebody else. Now, I say I'll use this second character as a one-off. There's no reason I need to. I just create a new character, and then I can actually switch between the two whenever I want to. It's unlikely that I'll do that, because you do feel such a progression with the characters. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting on with that scenario the second time round. So, what have you been up to? What games have you been playing?
Well, and the complete opposite of a game like Gloomhaven, I have just gotten a copy of Rhino Hero Super Battle, because I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. Yeah. And I had played this at Origins, and the second I played it, I said, I need to get this for my kids. They're going to love this.
So I think I've played Rhino Hero. This is where you stack the cards up
one
on top of each other until they fall over.
The base game is called Rhino Hero. Yeah. And that is the one where you stack straight vertically and you make a tower. But this is Rhino Hero Super Battle. And in this game, you're building like an entire 3-dimensional city. It's not one vertical tower. It's this wide and tall, with multiple different height pieces to make it like a city, and it's made of cards. Literally, it's you're building a house of cards or a city of cards, and then you each have a little wooden meeple. In the original game, there's one wooden meeple that everyone moves to the top. Yeah, but in this, everyone has their own, and the winner is determined by who is highest when the tower when the structure falls.
But you're not just building one tower.
Yeah, no, you're building the whole city, and it's a lot. It's goofy fun. I mean, it's not very strategic at all. In fact, I haven't won it yet. My kids keep beating me at it, so I take that for what either they're strategic geniuses or it's more just dexterity and luck, which is fun. It's fine. It's a ton of fun.
Now, what's interesting about Rhino Hero, because there are games out there that are just for kids, that regular gamers like myself that are in their 20s, like me, stop laughing, would never play. But Rhino Hero is a game which I've played and has been played down at my local club, because it's fun and it's quick. So it's a good kids game in that there is still appeal to the rest of us.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for me, being a board gamer and a dad, is finding these diamond in the rough games that are fun for me, because my kids will play anything. So if I leave it up to them, I may be playing Uno all the time. And I'd rather not ever do that. So so when I could find these games, and speaking of dexterity games that fit that, I like Talk Woodman is another great example of a really silly dexterity game that's fun for adults as well. Right.
Okay, so on to light games that are suitable for 5-year-olds. My copy of Lisboa arrived.
We're just going back and forth here.
We do. I've been looking forward to getting Lisboa, because I've had the prototype of Lisboa since Vital sent it to me, and I did the video for it, which was end of 2016. And I played it a number of times, and I did a number of demos of it at various conventions, and I've been really, really eager to play it again. And then there was one time we almost did, and we got the box out with the prototype in, and I went, well, the rulebook's not in here. And I think he's tweaked a couple of the clergy tiles. I'll tell you what, let's leave it. Let's leave it till my actual real copy arrives. So I've been very much anticipating getting this game, and it arrived this week, and a friend of mine came around early on Friday, and we played it 2-player, and it was fantastic. So yes, I know I don't generally like giving my personal opinion on games that I was commissioned to do rules videos for, but Lisboa is very, very good. I like Vital's games anyway. This is probably up there with one of my favourites. This and the new version of Vinyos, I think. And very, very happy that arrived.
Add in that Ian O'Toole did a brilliant job with the art and design of that board. Yes. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Now, it has come in for some criticism, like, it's too blue, and, it's too busy, and there's too much going on. I don't see that. After my first game, I saw past all of the artwork, and I went, that's the space where you put the officials, and this is the space where that is. The artwork for me just blended in. But I know from when I was demoing this game for people for the first time, they looked at it and they went, oh my God, the board's huge and there's so many things all over it. Yeah, it's a complex game. You know, there is a lot going on, but the artwork and the style that they chose to go with, which is genuine, authentic, you know, Portuguese style of that time, with the tiles, with everything was the blue. It just looks really good. So yeah, and it's very functional as well. So it looks nice, but functionality in a board game for me is more important than the artwork itself.
And people said the same thing about Yokohama too, about being too busy. But when you sit and play it, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's a heavy game, but it's very intuitive, and you could pick it right up.
So the bad news about Lisboa, for those people who don't know the story, is because Lisboa is set in the year 1755. Well, in the year 1755, Lisboa, the capital city of Portugal, was hit by a massive earthquake, a tsunami, and then 3 days of fires, and the city was pretty much completely destroyed. And in this game, you are rebuilding the city after that destruction has happened. Now, all the American backers of the game got their copies. The European backers of the game, the warehouse that they were stored in, burned down in a fire. So you couldn't get much more ironic than that.
And also, within like that same week, the copies of Wasteland Express delivery service game, a pickup and delivery game, got like lost in transit on trucks,
right?
In America.
On trucks.
And they found them like a week or two later, but it was just like what like weird thematic things are happening with games.
Yeah. Now what Eagle Gryphon did is they obviously produced more than was needed to fulfill the backers. So what they did is, I think that all of the copies that were destined for US retail, they shipped back over to Europe to fulfill all of the backers in Europe. The warehouse nobody was injured in the warehouse fire. It was all covered by insurance, but of course that means Eagle Gryphon are having to, you know, get another print run done, so it will be hitting retail later than originally planned. But at least, you know, me as a European backer, my copy that was destroyed, they fulfilled it from another source. So
yeah, they
was good.
definitely did the right thing as far as that goes.
Yeah. So yeah, very happy to get that. Right, back to you.
Oh, all right. Well, speaking of heavy euros, I got Summit, the board game, which is not a heavy euro at all, but it is a thematic game about climbing. You know, like an Everest type mountain.
Yeah, we've had a couple of games like this before, but not many. But we have had a couple.
Yeah, K2 was one of them.
Yeah.
But so in this one, you have these triangular tiles, and everyone. Well, first of all, I should note that you can play the game competitively, cooperatively, or solo. So I mean,
okay, that's good.
Right from jump, there's a lot of different ways you could play this. And this is good news because I played it competitively, and it is cutthroat.
Is it? Right, okay.
There are cards in this game that are just really gonna punch your opponent in the face. So,
deliberately, or does it have take that as a mechanic?
It has take that as a feature.
Right.
But I will say that it's balanced with a karma track. So you get points for going up the mountain, you get points for coming back down the mountain, and you get points for your karma. So you can be the first one up and down the mountain and not win the game, depending on your karma and your opponent's karma.
Okay, that's interesting.
So when you use one of these take that cards, it negatively affects your karma, because you can literally like steal food from people or push them off the ledge. You know, it's nasty because it's supposed to be a competition, like a race. But
a slight thematic disconnect though, because that probably wouldn't happen. I'm thinking.
Maybe I don't know.
Not being a mountain climber myself, but I'm just assuming people don't go around pushing each other off mountains.
Yeah, probably not. But I mean, look, if they don't have food, they probably would steal other people's food.
That's true. So this game is already out?
It is. It was. They were previewing it at Origins, and it was released at Gen Con. It's from Inside Up Games. Canadian designer Connor McGoey. I'm
Yep.
probably mispronouncing that, but
Near enough.
and I haven't played the cooperative yet. But if you're a Care Bear type player and the Take That doesn't sound up your alley, there's a cooperative way where you all have to help each other up the mountain, and that uses a totally different deck of cards, which I'm assuming presents its own challenges, since
Okay.
the players will not be challenging or racing each other.
I mean, I'm a big fan of games that give you the option of playing it, cooperatively or competitively, because it's effectively a different game, but using the same mechanics, but the amount of extra development work that would have had to go into that to produce that is good.
Yeah, like a whole different set of cards, and then you got to play test all over again. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I enjoyed playing it competitively. I haven't yet played it cooperatively. So
Are you a cooperative player generally, or do you
I am not a cooperative player, but my next game we'll touch on that more. So I'm gonna hold that in my pocket.
Okay. So that was Summit, the board game.
Yes.
Now on Friday, after we'd played Lisboa, Emily came round and we got Amerigo to the table. I'm pronouncing it Amerigo rather than Amerigo, because that's what I've been told it is. So this is a game from Stefan Feld, published by Queen Games 3 years ago, I think. And this game has been one which a lot of my regular people who come round on a Friday night have said, oh, we must play that at some point. But they normally say it at 11 o'clock when they're on the way out. So it's been on the pile of games to play for quite a long time. I've not played it myself for a good couple of years. Like a lot of Feld games, it's interesting because even people who like Feld games will say, oh, Castles of Burgundy is the best one and Trajan is the worst one. And then other people will say, oh no, Trajan's the best one and, Amerigo is the worst one. So there's a lot of people who don't like this game, but there's also a lot of people that do. I mean, I know you can say that with every game, but I just find it interesting that even amongst Feld fans, there is quite a wide difference of opinion on certain games. I pretty much like all of his games. I really like this one. It has a cube tower, which is the method that he's chosen to go with for the action selection. I played absolutely terribly and came last by a country mile, but it was really, really good to play it again, and I definitely want to play it again now. I basically went with I didn't really have a strategy. I was kind of making it up as I went along, but I did a lot of planning, and I took a lot of because to build things on the board, it's a two-step process. You have to plan it, which basically means spending action points to plan. You take the tiles from one area of the board, you put them in front of you, and then on a different action, you build them, and you build them from the area in front of you on the board. And you're basically placing these tiles on islands, and one of the players, Paul, was basically building stuff really, really quickly. So he'd land on an island and then he'd build loads of stuff. And I basically waited too long. I was planning too much, and I was taking the tiles that were going to be worth lots and lots of points if I was able to put them on an island, but then I never got a chance to put them on the island. I basically kept waiting too long, and then it was blocked off, and yeah, it was a good game. I just played really, really badly.
So he beat you with the rush strategy.
Yes, and I saw it happening. It wasn't like he sneaked up and just, oh, there it was. This was going on the whole game. But he was tired. I was tired. It was late. That's my excuse. So are you a Feld fan at all?
I am a Feld fan, and I see these conversations pop up about Feld. And I think the first generalization people make is point salad. And that is, they say, oh, Stefan Feld, point salad, solved. But I don't think that's fair to Stefan Feld at all, because I think if you look like just one tiny little bit deeper, you're going to see that risk mitigation becomes like a huge part in his arsenal of designing tools that you'll see run through a lot of games. And I think that's what, when you find Feld fans that are like, oh, but I don't like these games, a lot of them are the risk mitigation games, like In the Year of the Dragon and Bruges, which feature those elements more heavily because they think, oh, Castles of Burgundy, which really doesn't have that element. They think that's the pinnacle of his design. That's what all his designs are like, but it's really it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that most Feld games are point salad games.
Oh no, absolutely, but I don't think that's all they are.
No. Yeah, there's lots going on. So that's Amerigo. Right, back to you. What have you been playing next?
All right, so I had mentioned earlier that I'm not a huge cooperative games fan, but last night Ken Grazier, who is Geekcraft in the Punchboard Media Network, was kind enough to teach me Arkham Horror, the card game.
I saw you played it online
on Octagon, which now first of all, I've never used Octagon before.
I used it years ago.
It works, and it has the card art and everything, but it's a little unintuitive and clunky. But hey, I don't have a copy of the game, and I got to play it online last night for free, so I can't complain. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And like I said, I don't love cooperative games normally. I find them they become like a quarterbacking nightmare, and they become these very rote puzzles to solve.
Yep.
But the strong storyline in Arkham Horror that is helped so much with the art and the flavor text on all the cards really pushed past that to like almost like a role-playing experience. And I don't like cooperative board games, but I do like and have played a lot of role-playing games in my life. So this almost made it feel like that. And
so did you just play the first sscenario?
Yes,
the core set?
Played the Gathering, I believe it was called, which is the first scenario.
I've played that 3 or 4 times now.
Well, Ken is a big game teacher and game demoer, and he said it was like the 15th time he played it.
Yep.
But he threw me as the lead investigator and let me make all the decisions, so he wasn't spoiling the
Because that's the thing. I've played the game a number of times, and I really, really like it. I think for me, it's probably the randomness is probably a bit too high in it, but the way that the story works is just great. And like a lot of games, the first experience you have of that game will be the best, because in that game, you're in the hallway at one point, and then you can go into either the attic or the basement.
Yep. And then you're looking to get into the parlor, but you can't get into the parlor
That's it. Now, you know how to get into the parlor, and you also know what's in the attic, and you also know what's in the basement. But that first time when you play it, and as I say, the theme comes across so well in that game, more than any other LCG I think that I've ever played. I really felt it just from, as I say, the way that the cards were, the artwork, and the way that the storyline evolved in that game, I felt was absolutely fantastic. The 3rd or 4th time you play that scenario, you're like, right, I'm just going to go through the motions now.
Yeah,
and it's still enjoyable, but you don't have that, oh, what's in the attic? Oh, it's this. You don't have that the second time.
I don't know that I could ever replay the same scenario. I don't.
At all, ever?
No, I don't. Because I think that was most of the pleasure I got out of playing it was the story. So playing it again would just be like, oh, now it would all be about the numbers.
But, and here's a question, because I don't know if you've played games like Time Stories or anything like that. If you were to play this scenario again, then you would be able to plan and prepare ahead for the dangers that you're about to face. And you would be therefore better the second time you played it. Would you not feel any... Because it's kind of like a bit of a puzzle. And especially when you play Scenario 2 and Scenario 3, the rules of the game are that if whether you succeed or fail, and this is one thing I love about the game, whether you succeed or fail, you still progress to Scenario 2. But then, depending on whether you succeeded or failed, and depending on whether you chose option A or B at the end of that scenario, that leads on to different things later in the campaign, which is really, really good. But if you ever actually die, then you're supposed to start all over again, which means you will. And Scenario 1 is a fairly introductory one. Scenario 2 is pretty tough, and Scenario 3 is really tough. So the first time I played 2, I did so badly, I thought, forget this, I'm just going to start again. Because now, when I've started again, right, I know where that is, so I'm going to do this in a better way, kind of thing.
Okay.
So do you not feel that?
Well, I mean, definitely. I guess if I played Scenario 2 and got hammered, then maybe I would want to revisit it in that way. Or I was just thinking, if I played a different character, it might provide some different experience. Because I played Daisy the librarian, so that was a very she was a very specialized at clue solving.
Yes.
and not at all in the fighting or the fleeing. So
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but I see that there's so many other scenarios, and
Yes.
I'm not the kind of I wouldn't have the time to play this game 30 times, which I'm
No.
probably almost up to that many scenarios now, it seems. So I don't feel like I would feel the need to repeat them. I'm assuming, I didn't, lose horribly and have the game tell me I had to.
Yeah. Well, there's the 3 included in the core set, which is one storyline. And then there is the Dunwich expansion, I think, can't remember, which is 6 or 7.
Yeah, I think it's 8 actually in the Dunwich.
Okay.
And then there's some one-shots on top of that, and then there's some new thing that's just being released now.
Yeah.
Or this past week, I think. I don't remember the name of.
I'm very keen to play it again because the experience of playing it was very good. As I say, the random element for me, the encounter card draw was very Lord of the Rings living card game, which I felt was very, very random. And having played that first scenario, as I say, 3 or 4 times now, you can get really, really lucky and you can just draw encounter cards that don't really hurt you, or you can get really, really, really horrendously bad ones. And your chance of succeeding is, it's another enemy. And it's another enemy. And so yeah, the card draw, the encounter card draw, can be a very random factor. The drawing the token out of the bag for me was like, okay, so instead of rolling a dice, I'm drawing a token out of the bag. But you draw a token out of the bag and then put it back, and then the next time you do a test, you draw another one out of the bag. It's just this extra random factor in it. But it was good fun. I really enjoy what they've done, and I love the way that all of the mechanics of the game, I think, are absolutely fantastic, apart from the randomness that, people like me have a problem with. So anyway, right. Other things I've been playing. Clans of Caledonia. And in fact, my rules video for that is pretty much done. I'm just waiting on final approval. So that should be going live. Well, in fact, by the time this podcast goes out, that video might already be live. So if you're listening to this, my Clans of Caledonia video might already be live. If it's not live, it'll be live, hopefully very soon. But the reason I didn't back Clans of Caledonia is 3 of my local gaming group backed it. Otherwise, I would have done. So when they asked me to do the official rules video for it, I was very happy. And yes, I have played that 3 times now, I think. Anyway, let's talk about things that we're both up to. So I've mentioned the Clans of Caledonia video, but I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. That's about to go live. What are you working on at the moment? You said you got any preview games?
Yeah, well, I have this copy of Summit, which I have to play cooperatively and solo before I can really give any sort of good, opinion on it. And then I also have, which I have to bump up above Summit, is House Rivalry. That was that game I had mentioned earlier about the Magic School, and that is actually on Kickstarter right now. And they gave me a copy late. Not ideal. Obviously, I'd rather get it early, but production things and last minute. So, and I'm excited about the theme because, like I said, it screams Harry Potter to me. So I'm gonna have to rush that one to the table. And
so they want you to do a written review for it.
Yeah, and
while the Kickstarter campaign is going on.
Yeah. So at this point, I don't know that I'll be able to give a real review because I don't know if I'll be able to play it enough. But I'll at least be able to at least give a first thoughts overlook of the game and help people out that may have said, "Oh, this theme looks interesting," but I don't know if the mechanics are something that would be interesting to me. So at least I could run through it once or twice and give people a better idea of the mechanical gameplay.
Sure. And this is from the people who you said that traditionally live role players.
Learn LARP is the name of the company.
Right, okay. So I expect to see that appearing on Cardboard Hoard.
Yes, on the Punchboard Media site.
Excellent. So other things I'm working on. Well, this is the run-up to Essen. So I've got the Downfall video. So Downfall is a game which Tasty Minstrel Games are going to be launching on Kickstarter in about 2 weeks' time.
This is their first foray into minis, right?
I think it is.
Yeah, I know what game you're talking about. Yeah.
Although the copy I've got doesn't have any minis. So they've sent me a prototype of the game. They want me to do a rules video for it before the Kickstarter launches, but it'll be a rules video that I do with prototype components and no minis. So, you know, obviously it's a prototype. They haven't got the minis yet, so they haven't sent me the minis. Yeah, the script has been approved by Tasty Minstrel. So tomorrow morning, set up the studio after the plumber's been round to fix the radiator. And yeah, I'm going to be cracking on with that. My squirrel costume arrived for the That's a Question video. I'm just waiting on Vlad just signing off the script to that. So yeah, I've got 2 more videos that should be out before Essen.
Oh, when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, but apart from that, it's all my regular stuff. So a few bits of rulebook work here and there. Might be able to sneak in a couple of review videos, a couple of podcasts. And then it's Essen, which I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, what else have you got planned for the next few weeks, games-wise?
Oh, not much. Like I said, just those 2 written reviews, and then getting some more those interviews up for the InFocus series, which I've been a pleasure to work on.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I had mentioned that Carla was the last one, and then the other 2 that were coming up, Nicole and Maury. But then another one is Erica from Frenemy Games, who's done some co-design stuff with Daryl Andrews, and she has like 6 or 7 signed games right now. So that should be another interesting interview, because she's just, she's killing it.
So you must have to plan these interviews, as you say, if you're putting out one a week, you must have to plan a few weeks in advance.
Yep, I certainly try to.
Yeah.
Because, everyone you're dealing with, especially during con season, is very busy. So I like to have a few people out there that I'm working on getting stuff from, so that I can always make sure I have something for every Wednesday coming up. Yeah.
Cool. So let's wrap things up. So Eric, let people know where they can get hold of you, and remind us a bit about Punchboard Media.
Yes, I can be found on Twitter at Eric Buscemi. I write the Cardboard Hoard blog and reviews. They can be found on the Punchboard Media site and on Board Game Geek. I am an occasional contributor for the What Did You Play This Week podcast, and occasionally I'm also found on the Cubist or Botch Games podcast, and now here. And as for Punchboard Media, that is punchboardmedia.com, and there's also an RSS feed I set up for people that like to get their website stuff that way, so you'll be updated when stuff comes out. And then that's at Punchboard Media on Twitter and Instagram, and it's also on Facebook.
Cool. And people can get hold of me in all the usual places. It's Gaming Rules. Now, on the next podcast, I was asked a question over on Facebook, and I said, can you post this to my guild? I'm going to talk a little bit about rulebook writing process. So I'm not going to bore people and go into all of the details, but I am just going to talk a little bit about the process involved in getting a rulebook from, the design stage of the designer's got a game to actually printing the rulebook that goes in the box, because it isn't always the same for every company that I work for. So yeah, I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. So not answered any people's questions in this podcast, but I'm going to do that in the next one.
I will say, as someone that's I'm an editor. That's my day job. So I'm extremely interested to hear your process on that, as someone that works in the field of writing and editing.
Well, and next time I'm over in the States, let's sit down and we'll have a chat about it, because I'm interested in how it compares to other real life editing.
Yeah, sure.
So, thanks very much for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So the Gaming Rules podcast is sponsored by GamesLaw, the UK's largest specialist games retailer at gameslaw.com, and Gaming Rules is a proud member of Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Thanks to Jason Shaw at audionautics.com for the music used in this podcast. And until next time, take care and thanks for listening.